Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review today. I'm here to tell you all about the debut album from the Alligator wine, Demons of the Mind, out April 24th on Century Media Records. The album has 9 tracks, 43 minutes in length. Now, the best way I have to describe this band to you guys is, imagine the Doors, remove the guitar player. Yes, you heard me right. This is a rock album without any guitars in it whatsoever. I had a really hard time understanding that approach, or at least thinking of what would it sound like before I got into the record, and wondering how can you pull off a 70s infused psychedelic rock album with no guitars. It seems impossible. Well, I'm here to tell you that it's not impossible, and it sounds amazing. I honestly really love this record. I really love the approach. I really love the sound. Very fresh, very new, very different. And to be honest with you, you don't even notice that there's no guitars there. There's not one single song where you say, wow, man, some guitars on this track or a guitar solo here really made the difference. They created a very interesting record without using a single guitar. The sound across the album is very eclectic. There's not 2 songs that sound alike, that have the same structure, that have the same feel. So it's a very eclectic album, but to me there's 2 main components that hold the album together. That allows them to go into different directions, have some songs that are more atmospheric, have some songs that have more of that 70s psychedelic rock, have some songs that are almost party tracks. They can go almost anywhere they want with their sound as long as these 2 elements are present in every song, and that holds everything together. And those 2 elements is the vocals and the organ. To me, these 2 elements are the glue that holds the whole album tight, concise, and allows them to then experiment within those parameters, experiment with their sound, push the boundaries, go into different directions, and create really interesting, lively, dynamic tracks. The vocals, in my opinion, are absolutely outstanding. Very melodic, haunting, really interfacing perfectly with the melody of the track, but also bringing the lyrics to life at the same time. The vocals were just, like I said, just phenomenal. I honestly, I was blown away by the quality of the vocals on this album. Definitely another instrument. What you lose perhaps by not having any guitars, you gain by having vocals of this quality on the record. They really bring the songs to life. They really knew what to use, what style to approach, how to emphasize certain momentums of certain songs in order to get not only the most out of the song, but to really get the most out of the lyrics of the songs. The organ on the album, it gives this old school feel. It really takes it back, and that's why I used the Doors at the beginning of the review as an example, because when I was listening to this album, there were certain stretches, certain melodies coming from the organ that really reminded me of the Doors. So it had a little bit of that 70s sound to it, really old school sound to the way it's played, to the way it comes across, to the way it's used in the tracks, but overall, it really blends this psychedelic sound with a little bit more of a groovy, atmospheric portion of it. So it has a really interesting dynamic, it has a really interesting approach, and when you mix that organ playing, that style of playing, that approach to each and every single song with the vocals, you have this really dynamic pair. It's really 1 and 2 punch that comes at you in different waves and different styles and different approaches, but they're there on every single song. They are the spinal cord of the album from top to bottom, and really emphasize how beautiful, how dynamic, how dark at times this album can become. Overall, I felt that the album was really well crafted, really well put together. I was very skeptical of the sound coming in, specifically knowing that there was not going to be any guitars, and how can you have a rock album with no guitars? So I was very skeptical of the sound coming in, and I left wanting more. I absolutely fell in love with the album because it's different. It has a different approach, has a different feel, makes you feel differently about the music. They were able to create a record that has other instruments sometimes making a sound that sounds like something that would be coming out of a guitar. Like the organ sometimes sounds like it has riffs. It's just really interesting approach, really interesting sound, really well executed all the way through. Very eclectic album. Every song has a different feel. Every song takes you in a different journey, has a different approach. But overall, when you have vocals like that and you have that magnificent organ playing, you have what you need in order to hold everything together and allow the album to feel as one and not just a collection of 9 tracks. As far as songs are concerned, I want to start off with Crocodile Inn. Very trippy track. This is something that you feel like you're on acid when you're listening to this song. Has a somber mood, has a somber sound, and the vocals have that same somber approach to it. It's really subdued and slow moving in the verses. It builds up towards a more melodic, catchy chorus, and the vocals elevate the beautiful melody that the song has, specifically in that chorus. You really feel like this song has this crescendo that builds from the verses all the way to the chorus, but it's a song that's really made up of these two different portions, the verses and the chorus. They have an interesting dynamic between them, but you can feel the difference, the different in approach, different in sound, and even from a vocal perspective, there's a slight change going into the chorus being a lot more melodic, having a lot bigger sound. The psychedelic closing of the song, as far as the sound and the vocals is concerned, really works well. Having the organ play this melody, and it feels like it's at a distant sound, and the way those three elements come together really allows the song to have a very strong closing, making it sound very different from everything up until that point. It's a song that really changes a little bit as it gets into the last third. Next, Voodoo. The organ melody on this song is really good, really infectious, if you will. Simple, but infectious. And sometimes simple is good, and you don't have to create a song that's overly complicated in order to be catchy, in order to be hooky. Sometimes the simpler approach is the best approach. To me, this is a song that has a very simple approach, and that is why it sounds the way it does, and that is why it's one of those earworm tracks that once you listen to it once, you're absolutely become magnetized by it. The vocals come in with a certain intensity, and they really elevate the overall mood and atmosphere of the song. You really feel like they're really dictating where your mind is going within the song. The chorus is really catchy, really melodic. They do that a lot throughout the album, creating songs that have a really hooky and catchy chorus. This is one of them. Almost having a party atmosphere, if you will. Not necessarily in the verses, but definitely more in the chorus. It really has this outburst of energy, this outburst of creativity. The verses are a little bit more dark, more reserved. The vocals and the organ creating this stripped down effect that you don't get in the chorus. The song really has two momentums, it really has two portions. Considering Crocodile Inn, you had that, but the dynamic between verses and chorus was not as abrupt, was not as different. You felt there was a difference there, but it was just not as strongly divided as it is in Voodoo. In Voodoo, you really feel like the verses are really just stripped down, very clean, very simple, very melodic, very dark, very somber, becoming a lot more energetic, becoming a lot more alive in the verses, so there in the chorus. So there's a definite break between the two. It creates a song that has this peak and valley, and that creates dynamic built in within the track that allows this song to be, like I said, very hooky and very catchy. Last but not least, Lorraine. Wow, what a dark track. I mean, if Twin Peaks needed a song to be the soundtrack of their show, this song is it. This is the definition of melancholy and darkness. It just has this cloak, this blanket of darkness that embraces the whole song. Very atmospheric sound. It has phenomenal vocals that really add to the atmosphere that the sound has. And to me, for this song, is extremely important. The vocals are not necessarily in the forefront. They're almost hidden behind the whole atmosphere. There's this real fog. There's this thickness of not sound, because the sound is not really pungent. The sound is not really strong. But the vocals almost feel like they're behind this invisible cloak of sound. And that creates such a dark atmosphere, a song that feels dripped in emotion and pain and suffering from top to bottom, not only from how the vocals are delivered to you, but also the way the sound comes across and how those two elements come together. I really love this track. I love the darkness that it has. I love how it sounds, how it's put together, how they decided to almost hide the vocals or reduce the volume of the vocals to allow the atmosphere of the song to blend in with the atmosphere that the vocals give to the track. Absolutely dark, haunting, beautiful song. One of my favorites on the album. Alright guys, this is it. This is the Alligator Wine with Demons of the Mind, out once again on April 24th on Century Media. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.